So lots of golfers feel that when they make a shorter backswing, they strike the ball more solidly, feel like they've got more control, and hit lots of high quality golf shots. But they also feel that by shortening the backswing, potentially they cost themselves some speed. And once they can hit shots like they did there, they start making a bigger backswing, but then really feel that they lose that strike, even though the speed's up, contact's less good, accuracy's off, and distance is down. So most importantly then for golfers, how do we find what the perfect length backswing is for you? Right, so I think in order to understand what the perfect length backswing is for you, for me, and whoever else is watching, is it will be slightly different for everybody. So the first thing I want you to understand is what is the simplest form of the golf swing. And I think when you look face on, simplest form is that club moves in a circle around your body. So to draw a circle, you only need two things. And the good news is you've already got both of them. So you need the middle of the circle to stay still. So the middle of your circle is actually just inside your body. And you need the width of the circle to be maintained around that center point. Now, because your clubs change length, the width of the circle changes. But the circle that we're going to focus on is very much the hand width. So that, unless your arms are changing length, should stay pretty similar. Now, what you'll see with me is when I swing back, if you focus on this distance here, that distance is maintained to a point, and then to get any longer than that, I've either got to turn my body more, or my arms have got to collapse, which would narrow that circle. Now, for me, that's what a lot of guys talk about when they feel shorter backswings better. So if you're somebody who the arms collapse and the circle narrows, it's all about how good you are at getting that width back into impact. Now, if you're somebody who's phenomenally good at that, you don't need to worry about how long your backswing is. But for most golfers, they'll swing back, they narrow, they can top it, nearly miss that one, and it becomes very, very frustrating. So like I said, what they'll do is they'll swing back shorter, and even though that was a little offline, the contact was much, much better. Club head speeds dropped down a lot, but that's still much, much further than the one I nearly missed. So what I want you to just try for me is I think a lot of guys struggle is that they'll move back and there'll be some good width in that initial part of the swing. But then their bodies, they try and keep fairly still, so they're limited as to how far back that can go. Now, the only way I can get back further than that without letting my body turn is to let those arms fold, and that's a position potentially many of you watching will see. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to feel, without moving your body, how far back you can get, keeping that nice stretch in the backswing. So for me, I can probably get to about there before I feel too much of my body reacting. Okay, so if my body's not going to move, that's as long as I can swing back. I'm not going to play great from there. So once I get back to there, I want to now feel that my shoulders, my body, and my hips are allowed to rotate more. And you can see, even for me with a big shoulder turn, quite a lot short of parallel. And that's definitely shorter than where I would be. So I would rehearse that a few times. Get back, big turn, and then swing through. And that feels different for me. That definitely feels a much bigger body turn. If you wanted to go further, you could let that lead heel come off the floor. So back, big turn, let my heel come up, and you see more width. Don't necessarily feel with my irons I want to do that. So once I've done a couple of practice swings with that, then we want to hit some shots and see how that feels. And that definitely feels a much bigger shoulder turn for me. Definitely feels shorter at the backswing, but we see good strike, 3 inches ahead, 167 carry. And if you're somebody who does struggle with ball striking, Obviously, if the middle of the circle's moving around a lot, that's an issue. But the bigger issue for most golfers is if the width of the circle's changing, you are going to miss hit shots. So that felt super wide on the way back. Not me manipulating it, but felt super wide, but felt like I really kept the width all the way in the downswing, which made it incredibly easy to get the middle of the club on the ball. But I'm sure you can appreciate, not just topping, thinning, but also if the club's moving closer to you, potentially toe strikes. So definitely for me, felt much more of a body turn on the way back and then nice and wide. So I'll do that again. Didn't feel quite as big a turn on the way back. Definitely felt shorter still, but 85.5 mile an hour, 3 inches ahead, and 157 carry. Now, I don't want you to worry about, hang on, am I making a half swing, a 3/4 swing? If for you, that is your full length backswing with maintaining your width, that is your full swing, wherever the club gets back. And when you watch the best players in the world, they all get to slightly different lengths on the way back. So how flexible we are, how strong we are, how well we move, these are all big considerations to take into account. So if I went a little shorter than that, let's see how that feels. So still big shoulder turn. Felt good. We see 84.4 mile an hour, low 0.4 inches ahead, good control on the shot, and 165 carry. Now I would say even for me, that feels so much shorter than I would normally do. Now I know when I watch myself on camera, it's not actually loads shorter, but now I'm gonna feel a little bit bigger shoulder turn, keeping that width, and that just felt absolutely fantastic. So because the club's had a little bit longer to travel, and because it's wider, it's traveling even further, 88 mile an hour, 3.5 inches ahead, and 190 carry. Now, the balls I'm using have actually been washed. Maybe that last one, there was a bit of moisture on there, so I'm not expecting my 7-iron to be pitching 190 every time, but it felt powerful, it felt easy, and it felt incredibly simple to strike the ball solidly. Let's go one more. Big wide shoulder turn, so I can maintain that width on the way down and really drive through that shot. Again, felt lovely, even quicker at 89 mile an hour, 2.2 inches ahead, and more realistic at around that 170 carry. Now I know this might sound an odd comment, but it's amazing when I do these videos how it kind of reminds me of little feelings that I should be getting better at in my golf swing. Definitely for me, and I know when I go on K-Vest, I just don't get a lot of body rotation. I'm not too worried with me with that little lack there, but even though the club gets back, the club's accelerating over a shorter distance, so I lose speed and potentially get my hands a bit more involved. So, can't finish on that one. Let's really go nice and wide, big shoulder turn, and let's try and pour some speed into this one. Felt okay. Yeah, a little bit off center with the strike, but again, over 90 mile an hour club head speed, 2.2 inches ahead, 178 carry. And if you can really find, like I said, go back as far as you can without the body being involved, so you've got that width. Then from there, turn your shoulders and your hips as much as you can. If you need to, use the camera, use a mirror or window, get a bit of feedback as to where that feels. And once you can reproduce that, you're going to be more consistent with the width of the swing, definitely going to improve your ball striking, but also pick up club head speed and hit the ball longer and straighter than ever before.